Welcome to the Disciples of the Watch podcast with your hosts, Gene Vogel and Nate Matnich.
Disciples, thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Disciples of the Watch.
On this episode, we're going to share our personal top 10 albums in no particular order that were released in 2025. I'm Nate Matnich.
And I'm Gene Vogel. Thank you for joining us. And I'm sure we'll probably have some honorable mentions as well on there, Nate. I don't know if I brought a lot to the table, but I do know there's one that I want to mention. How about you?
I've got 5 honorable mentions.
Okay. Well, maybe there'll be some crossover. We'll see. But before, of course, we get to all that, we just want to see what's happening, Nate. How was your 2025? I guess we got to recap the year that was.
I guess I hadn't really thought too much about the whole year. I switched jobs, so that was kind of a big deal.
Yes.
I've gotten a lot of my health stuff back on track, which has been really good. You know, lifting weights and having a routine yoga practice again, meditating daily, you know, taking a break from weed again. And so I'm not eating a ton of junk food and shit like that. Though I will say over this holiday, we've been hitting the pastries and stuff pretty hard. So
easy to do.
After we got a little bit left, and once that stuff's gone, it's going to be back to, you know, having like one chocolate at night to satisfy the sweet craving, you know? Yeah. I mean, it's been a good year that way. So how about you?
Nice. Yeah, I guess I don't put a whole lot of thought in recapping a year myself. It just popped into my head. But yeah, it's I need to do those things that you just said you're actually got on track, getting a regular workout regimen going and meditation and such. Although I did get back into that, but I'm not as consistent as I used to be. So I'm working on it, baby steps. So there's progress in some areas, but not as much as I'd like to see. Yeah, we'll see what the new year brings. The only thing looking forward is we got a bunch of kick-ass releases that are going to be out this year. I am so stoked for this.
Yeah, there's good music coming up in 2026, so I'll be on top of that, buying all that stuff up and checking out the new albums. And
absolutely,
yeah, looking forward to this year. I think there's some good concerts too, but I don't really get to live shows too much these days, but you never know.
Yeah, the only thing that's on my radar that I'm definitely going to is the Overkill, Testament, and Destruction.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be missing that one. It's the day before my anniversary, and it's during the week, so we'll see.
Yeah, we lucked out this time. We got it on a Saturday.
Nice.
Although my employer is not too difficult when I need to take time off. So during the week, if I want to take a day off or two to attend a concert, I don't get the pushback like I used to when I was in construction.
Yeah. Construction, I suppose, it's harder to take time off. I could just see that being that way. Yeah.
But still, you know, taking time away can be important as well.
It's very important. I always use all my vacation time. I've never been one of those people who are like at the end of the year and I've got to burn it up or cash it in, or I just use it because, even if it's just taking one day off, like a Friday or a Monday or something like that, or whatever, extending the weekend, I do it, man.
Yeah, those 3-day weekends just every once in a while, it can really, really help balance out a little bit of the work-life balance. I mean, it's not a silver bullet as far as that goes, but just some of those, for me, I find an extra day here or there can make a nice break of the rhythm of work. 5 days, get 2 days to catch up on life and whatnot, and then it's 5 more days back at it.
Yeah, I feel like I get more recharged from taking a staycation or whatever they call that than I do actually going somewhere. So
yep, I'm the same way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, it's the new year now.
Well,
I had a lot of time off, actually, now that we're talking about it, over Christmas and New Year's.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, it's back to fucking reality tomorrow, though.
This is like the boss battle of all Mondays coming up.
Yeah.
after the freaking holiday breaks and different. I mean, my schedule was more just a few days off and then, you know, working remote and not like a consistent chunk of time. It's, you know, random between, or not random, but, you know, falling on the holiday, basically on the 2 holidays that were just here that we experienced back to back.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a friend coming from Minnesota to stay with me next weekend, and I took Friday off, so I already got another vacation day lined up here. Yep.
Well, that's nothing wrong with that.
Hell no, man.
Yeah, and that's one thing I appreciate with my employer that I'm at now is it's a every pay period you earn vacation time, PTO. And previously it was always, well, it's your anniversary. Here's a chunk of time, and you got to manage that between now and next year. You got 365 days to manage your time off, and it's workable, and I did it, but now I appreciate this rolling method, and it doesn't. Everything just carries over. They don't time, other than you're limited how many hours you can hold on to. But if you got 30 hours, it carries into the next year. They don't care. It just keeps rolling. But once you hit like 120, I think it is, that's where then you stop accruing. So it's best to use it so you don't lose it.
Yeah, that's going back to my previous employer. They added a new benefit. So if you've been there longer than 10 years, you get like 122 hours, it's 22 days vacation time. And then they have an accrual program for sick days, but it's not, you don't have to just use them for sick days. Like if your buddy wants to move, you can use those days for that type of a day off, or if, you need to take your wife to the clinic or anything like that. You can use these accrued days. That's really cool. You don't have to actually use vacation time to do like, if you have errands or something you have to run during the day, you can use these sick days, if you will. I don't know. It's getting more liberal with that. I know Minnesota just passed a law too, where people can take like time off to bond with their children and different things like that. There's a lot of people pushing back on that. If it's like a smaller company, I know that can get to be really burdensome, but if you're like fucking Google or something like that, you can afford to let your people go be with their kids and shit. You know what I'm saying? That's where I don't know. I like to see a little bit of this, because America is so dog eat dog with the way our system is set up, and I'm not hating on it, because hard work has gotten me to where I'm at, versus somebody just saying here's how much money you can make, and that's it, and that's it, like some government stipend or something like that. I appreciate the ability to work hard and have more, but you start to get into this race where other people are doing that, and then if you're not doing it, it's almost like you're viewed as not working as hard, even though you go and maybe put your 40 hours in a week. Well, if somebody else is putting in 60 hours a week, then they're looking at you like, you ain't really pulling your weight. And that's where it gets to be a little bit like, fuck, man, people need some room to breathe, Yeah.
And there's obviously different circumstances too. That person may not have a family where you do have a family. So, you want to spend time with your family versus just sitting there punching your clock and watching the clock tick away. And then all of a sudden it's time to go home, eat something, go to bed, turn around, do the same thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Human beings are strange creatures. Let me tell you that.
Seriously.
Well, on to the topic at hand, the big 2025 wrap up. We didn't do this last year. I think the last time we did it, we did a top 5 of like 23 or something like that, or 22. I don't recall off the top of my head, but I don't think we did it last year.
Yeah, we did our top 15 last year.
Oh, did we?
I could have done a 15 this year, but it would have been a little harder. Though I do have some honorable mentions that would make 15, but I didn't really feel like they were going to be. Well, we didn't rank these. I could have thrown them in there, but there was a lot of stuff I didn't really realize had come out until I was starting to look into it a little bit more.
Yeah, same here, man. That, and it seems like when if you keep adding, because I was finding some lists that were insane, like top 50, and it's like, if other than ranking them, if you're going to rank them, then I guess, by all means, add more, because you still have the challenge of what's number 1 and what's 50. But if you're just going to put them in a bucket and say, well, here's the top 20, but no, we're not going to rank them, well, then it's like, to me, it feels like if you can narrow that down, it's like you get 10 and you got to pick the 10 that are going to make your top 10 from the previous year. That makes it a little more special to me.
Yeah. Top 50, you'd have to be like somebody who listens to a very wide variety of music, and I like to think I'm pretty open-minded, but I'm, it's reggae, hip hop, metal is, and classic rock or whatever. But that's a pretty wide range, but yeah, I'm not like deep into jazz or pop music or any of that other stuff where it might make it easier to have a bigger list. But
I think part of that is you might also be watering it down, because here's a band that would make nobody's top 20 list, but you're going to put on 50 just because you need to fill space. Or it's like, well, at least it's better than Five Finger Death Punch, so I'm going to make this my 50,
right?
So they can't, or something like that. It's interesting. I found one, and I did include it in the show notes, and we can use that at the end of the show to see if we have any crossover with Don Jameson. but nothing really jumped out to me that I felt worthy of including in the show and sharing. And I'll be curious to see if we have some crossover, because obviously you've expanded into hip hop and reggae to where I don't know if you were limiting your 10 to metal or rock and metal, I should say, or if you were incorporating other genres as well.
Nope, half of my list is hip hop and half of it's rock and metal. That's just how it worked out this year, though. There was some really good hip hop releases that were really, impactful for me. So I included those, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a broad variety, maybe not as yours. I like death metal and thrash metal and heavy metal and power metal. And there's all sorts of genres that I'm interested in.
I'm thinking one, maybe two that we'll have in common at most.
Yeah. I'm thinking the same thing unless you surprise me. Because I'm even surprised at some of the stuff that's on my list. I'm going to tell you that right out of the gate.
Yeah, well, maybe I should kick it off then.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Well, my first one I'm going to roll with is Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii. So it's a new release because this has never been a standalone release. This is the first, in 2025, it was released May 2nd, is the first time that was ever given a vinyl and CD release as a standalone. You can get on the early years box set, specifically the Obfuscation 1972 set, that has audio of Live at Pompeii on it. But this year they actually released Live at Pompeii as a standalone vinyl and CD and remastered video. So I got all that. I got the vinyl and the Blu-ray. I had a bootleg copy of it, but it doesn't even have the sides listed on it. And it's not like one album is side 1 and side 2. It's side 1 and side 3 and side 2 and side 4. And because they're not labeled in any way, I try to figure out which vinyl is what. And I remember I was really fucking high once trying to listen to it, and I just could not figure out what the fuck was going on. So it got shelved, and that was the end of that. But Live at Pompeii is, at this point in my life, my favorite Pink Floyd recording. Of all their stuff that they've done, and I love the psychedelic era in general a lot more than anything after. The older I've gotten, though, even back in high school, I really loved a lot of the psychedelic era stuff. But I think it's just a little more madness kind of going on there, largely because when Syd Barrett was in the band, he was actually kind of losing his mind. So it had a little bit of that kind of whimsy going on. But yeah, Live at Pompeii is amazing, and especially careful with that Axe Eugene. That the version on Live at Pompeii, and just hearing the music echoing in the amphitheater, it is so like spooky. I don't know, man. It's just, there's a vibe with it that I've listened to a bunch of different live versions of that song. They've done really good versions of it elsewhere, but this one is really particularly special. So definitely had to put this one on my top 10.
I completely forgot about that one myself. And I guess maybe I didn't even think about it because I was expecting it to be, when you first said it, I was thinking a remaster, a re-release. And then I totally forgot this was, like you said, the first time, in that capacity. So I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I should be writing that one down. I need to, I guess as I edit this, I will remind myself to go and check that one out again.
Yeah. It was only released as a movie initially. So yeah.
Well, here's one I'd be surprised if you had on your list. If you even are familiar with the band, maybe you are. But this is one that completely out of left field for me as far as the band and, my lack of familiarity with it. But as soon as I heard it, it definitely made my top 20, 30. I forget how many I narrowed down to. I've listened to obviously so many independent bands and so many different releases in the past year. I'm going to say close to 2,000 releases when maybe that's high. 1,700 releases throughout the year, including, major releases. And this one slipped through the cracks, but I did eventually get to it. And it's to where I haven't pulled the trigger on buying it yet, but I think it's in my cart on a couple different locations. I was looking around to see if I could find it. And I'm trying to decide whether it's a vinyl or CD purchase. But enough blathering on about this mystery band. Are you familiar with Avatarium?
I am not.
This is a Swedish doom metal band from Stockholm, founded by Candlemass member Leif Edling in 2013. Now, he's no longer in the band, but the band does carry on. They have a beautiful voiced vocalist, Jeannie Ann Smith. And I really dig her voice. And as soon as I heard it, like I said, it was immediately like, okay, circle back. I gotta circle back on this one. And then it was like, this has got to be in my top 15, and jumped right into my top 10.
What was the band name again?
Avatarium. Avatarium.
Cool.
And they do have other releases too. I vaguely remember that hearing something about this. I remember Leaf being attached to it, unless it was a different band. But I do remember some discussion regarding that in some point through learning about Candlemass, or getting, more into Candlemass, or something about Candlemass. And just never really paid much attention to it. And it's got some Candlemass vibe to it as well. That's why I thought, he's probably still in the band. And then I went and looked up the band members, and it's like, oh no, he's not. It's Marcus Jadel on guitars now, and Mats Rydstrom on bass, and then Andreas Habo Johansson on drums and percussion. So that rounds out your 4-piece band there. But yeah, really dig it. It's got some good movements. It's not like your traditional doom metal, like, very consistently, like in that vein. This flexes a little bit more, which definitely appealed to me as well. So I'm definitely going to be bringing in some of this to KFAI as well, because I thought, man, hopefully turn other people onto it. But the music is described by the band as dark, heavy, and poetic, and lyrically dealing with the thoughts and questions about life, afterlife, love, and relations. So yeah, there you go. Definitely look into that if you are into doom or doom adjacent type of bands. But it's the vocalist, she does a great job, and that's part of the draw for me as well. As it's not cookie cutter. I grow, especially with listening to so many bands out there, and I don't want to disparage the independents, but they're the ones that are most guilty of it, of course, is their vocalists don't have any character. They don't have any punch to their voice. They're going through the motions and they're hitting notes. And it's like, well, draw me in, make me care. And so many of them don't. That's where a lot of them fail. Is the music will be like, oh my God, this is so cool. And all of a sudden it's like you're just trying to sing like somebody else.
Yeah.
And you don't have your own voice. You don't have your own charisma, and it's coming through.
Yeah, it gets to be cookie cutter.
Yes. So there's a band for you to check out, Avatarium, with Between You, God, the Devil, and the Dead. And that was released almost 1 year ago. It was January 24th of 2025.
All right, next up for me, I don't know. I'm curious if you have this one, but I put Soulfly, comma.
I did not. That one was battling for my 10th spot.
Okay.
And something knocked it out.
Well, this one, this one really blew me away. It was released October 24th, 2025. I went to the record store. I wasn't looking for Soulfly, but I saw it, and so I bought it because they've been on a really good run. And this one in particular is really, really grabbed my attention. And, in Max Cavalera's own words, he described the album as fast, heavy, spiritual, and raw, a revival of the band's tribal groove metal sound. And I definitely picked up on that right away. I didn't see his comments on it, but that's what I thought. I was like, this is really a throwback to like their first album, but not sounding like their first album, because they've been like they've really hit the thrash vibe, I think, a lot on the last few albums, and
yes,
that continues with this, but it does have that tribal and spiritual vibe, and that's kind of one of the things I've really liked about Soulfly in general. And we've already kind of talked about this, but we're going to be doing a track by track on this coming up, and then a worst to best of Soulfly's catalog. I'm really excited about it because Soulfly is just a killer band.
One thing that would have probably tipped the scales when I was picking that final spot was Soulfly does those musical pieces called Soulfly, and then they just add a number to the end of it. This one wasn't as powerful as things they've done in the past. And sometimes those Soulfly songs are hit or miss, but when they hit, they're powerful. And I was hoping when I got to that track, I was like, God, I hope this one just punches me right in the feels. And it didn't hit the mark. It was like, it's not bad, but I don't know. There's a part of Max's soul where he can do these things, and I'm so glad he does it. And I know some people shit on this. I enjoy it. I really love it when he does these Soulfly songs because they're meant as a musical diversion. It's something different, and it's a way for Max to flex. He walks in so many different worlds musically that I appreciate that he's going to go and kind of do something that's prog isn't the right word, but it's a little bit more experimental as far as like what a band like Soulfly but would normally do, if they never had done it before, but they've been doing it since the beginning.
Yeah, there's like world music elements in it.
Yes. And I know I saw a review of it where somebody's like, oh, and then he's got to bring out the stupid Soulfly. I'm like, no, I'm looking forward to this. So it didn't quite hit that mark, but it's still not bad. It's definitely better than some of the other ones. But yeah, that one, and it starts off, with that indigenous Inquisition and going into Storm the Gates. It was like, oh man, yeah, I see what you're saying about this kind of like Soulfly's kind of harkening back to the earlier 2 or 3 albums. Oh, that's right. And he's got his son on drums too.
Zion.
Yeah, he's been there a while, hasn't he?
I think so. Yeah, at least the last few albums for sure.
I think as soon as he started sprouting pubes, Max had him in the band.
Yeah, that's cool though. It's always been kind of a family thing, even with Sepultura, him and his brother, and then now with Cavalier Conspiracy, and now he's got his son in Soulfly, so he's all about the tribe.
Doesn't his other son play guitar?
Possibly, and I think the 2 brothers maybe were in a band too, Zion and his brother, but I don't remember the other guy's name.
Bill Cavalier.
Yeah. Funny.
They wanted something very American sounding. But yeah, that's one, like I said, it was close, and it definitely has grown on me. I was curious to see if it would grow on me even more before I had to nail down my top 10. Literally last night, I was fine tuning just to make sure, am I bringing these 10 to my list or is part of my bucket, my 10. And I ended up sticking with that one that it was the balance between the 2. Now here's one, Nate, you'd knock me over with a feather if this was on your list. And honestly, I didn't anticipate it being in my top 10. When I first listened to the album when it came out, I was a little bit underwhelmed. I thought, oh, okay, it's good. But I think I read into the reviews and stuff and the immediate press of it, which was like, oh my God, this is going to be as big as this album that I really love from this band. And I think that I had to tamper my expectations and then just reset and then accept the album for what it is instead of the hype that I went into it with. And I know better. I don't know why I got drawn up into it, but as I went back and listened to it and revisited it again to see if it would even be consideration for my top 10, it still made the bucket. And that is Deftones with Private Music. Do you have that one, Nate?
Nope, not a fan.
I figured that might be the case. So this one came out in August, so obviously not as much time to deal with it versus some of the other ones, or what is it, Avatarium with being out since January. Although I didn't have much work on that one either. I guess I should digress with that statement. But Deftones, yeah, that there's one of those bands that I don't listen to as much as some others, but when I'm in the mood for it, and it really can hit the spot. Or unless I'm going to White Pony, because White Pony is one I can easily just jump into, and I'm right back into how much I love that album. And they've had some good albums since White Pony, but for me, that's kind of the pinnacle album. And they've had some misses also that I've purchased and went, oh, well, this is kind of a bummer. And I do own Private Music. I did buy that one based on the reviews. When they were talking about it's the best thing since White Pony, I'm not sure about that yet, but once I accepted the album for what it is, instead of trying to shape it into the reviews that I had read or to compare it to White Pony, then it was like, oh, now I'm feeling the music better in that mindset versus trying to shape it and into the next best thing type of an album. Ohms, that's right. That was one I didn't even buy. I did listen to that one and never pulled the trigger on buying that. And this is their first album since 2020. That's apparently their biggest gap between 2 Deftone albums, 5 years. But of course, COVID probably didn't help matters either.
Yeah, they threw a monkey wrench into a lot of people's plans.
Same as, Overkill, that screwed up Overkill's plans. Although that gave them more time to fine tune the album. And if they did, they put out fucking a beast as a result.
All right, this is the one album I think we'll have in common. That's Testament Parabellum.
You're already going there.
October 10th, 2025. You have that one?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I was hoping you'd at least have that one. I didn't know about Soulfly, but yeah. So this is my third favorite Testament album. We did rank it. We updated our rank. we did a track by track on this on a previous episode, and then we redid our rankings, which we did a full episode on worst to best for Testament, and then we just updated it after we did our track by track. But yeah, this one's, I love that. I like the incorporation of the blackened thrash, black metal. It suits them to me more than when they were dabbling with some of the death metal type vibes, because yeah, I don't know, it just fits the vibe more. They really hit it on this album, and I love seeing these bands like this putting out late career bangers.
Agreed.
These guys were part, at the front end of thrash, and here they are, all these years later, 30 years later, putting out still the best in the genre. You know what I mean? And there's some hip hop albums too that are in that same. It's like the ones that were in the golden era are still the ones putting out the best music.
Yep, I like that they got that new blood in there, and it seems like it's affecting the band. At least the band is always talking about, or they had kind of hyped it up and talking about the shot of energy that he brought to the band with the new drummer, and those light touches of the blackened metal and blackened thrash I really did appreciate. And especially that one, the first track, they just come out and they punch you in the mouth and go, okay, yeah. Unfortunately the ballad fell flat for us, but I was glad to at least see them return to creating ballads again. We were just hoping for another one of those Testament home runs.
Yeah, it was a little weaker than definitely what you'd expect from a Testament ballad, but doesn't tarnish the album for me. For metal, that was definitely an ear grabber. I was surprised because Testament's one of those bands. It's like, I don't know, Dark Roots of the Earth is my number 2 favorite Testament album. So in my top 3, 2 of their albums are later career albums. So they definitely have it in them, and they hit it really hard on this one, Parabellum.
Yeah, that's kind of how my Creator fandom is those later years albums are some of my top albums. But I also wasn't an early adopter. I didn't like his voice.
Yeah.
But eventually Coma of Souls won me over, and then I became a fan, especially more in the early 2000s. So yeah, definitely. I love that these old school bands, some of them are just kicking ass with keeping the torch lit, which is another thing that kind of bums me out that Slayer's no longer around, because I would love to see what they'd be doing compared to what Exodus, and now Creator's got an album coming out. Megadeth's on their final one. Anthrax has got one coming out. It's like, fuck, I would love to have a Slayer album this year. That would just be the icing on the cherry on top of everything.
Definitely.
And that's one thing too, is if you haven't checked out Testament's latest release, by all means do. It's funny that we talk about new releases, but good music is timeless. So it's like, it doesn't matter if it came out in 2025, it can still be fresh and valid and powerful going into the new year and beyond. Let's see. I'm scrolling through my list here, Nate. Well, you know what? I'm gonna bring this one up. Destruction, Birth of Malice. Is that on your list?
It's in my honorable mentions.
Oh, nice. Yeah, this for me, I'm not big into the band Destruction. I think this might be my favorite album of theirs. And I'm speaking as a Destruction novice, and I've got some of their stuff, but nothing really has just really grabbed a hold of me. And this album, and I remember hearing the first single off of it going, hey, I got to pay attention to this. And unfortunately I didn't pay attention to it until it's like, oh, I got to start thinking about my top 20, my top from 2025. I revisited this a few times. I'm like, is this going to really come out of nowhere? I'm like, well, a lot of these and break into my top 10. And sure enough, that was released in March 7th of last year, and is their 16th studio album, Nate. They're almost getting to overkill territory there.
Yeah, I was wanting to do a worst to best, thinking they'd maybe have a handful of albums. And I remember we were talking about it, and you're like, oh no, they've got like whatever you just said. Yeah, a lot.
16 now. Yeah. We definitely would. I would like to, just because, especially with the strength of this album, I'd like to see how I enjoy their earlier works that I've maybe dismissed throughout the years. One thing I will say on this one, it's almost like if Creator had put out better albums, it would be this album.
Yeah, I could see that. I like it better than what I've heard from Creator as well. And of course, I couldn't help but compare just because they're German bands.
And there's a little bit of kind of crossover musically.
Yeah, interestingly, Destruction's Sentence of Death EP is, linked in with the catalyst for black metal.
Oh,
It doesn't sound like black metal to me, but it's got a wickedness to it. So yeah, I'd be curious too, because I'm really only familiar with that one and now this new one, The Birth of Malice. I haven't really listened to much in between.
yeah, I'm definitely up for that this year. I'm still thinking it's 2025 in my brain, but yeah, definitely could put that on our 2026 calendar to do some digging into Destruction. But yeah, Napalm Records, March of 2025. Definitely dig it, especially dig into it if you're a Creator fan. If you've been into the more recent Creator releases, definitely got to give this one its due. I would say if this were a Creator album, it'd be right up around that Violent Revolution type of vibe. But definitely more old school thrashy though, versus what Creator was doing with Violent Revolution. But I know Destruction's their own band. There's probably people that are pissed off that I'm
Comparing.
even drawing the two. And yeah. So my apologies to you hardcore death metal or German thrash metal band fans. I don't mean to disparage you in that fashion, but I could hear like, God, this almost feels like it could have been a really good Creator song, but it's a good Destruction song. So there's nothing wrong with that. So it's Hail Destruction. They made my top 10.
All right, next up is Pro Fanatica, Wreathed in Dead Angels. It's an EP. Pro Fanatica is an American black metal band. I've dabbled with them, but haven't really dove deep. But this EP really has grabbed my attention, and I got them already on my list to pick up some of their vinyl now. But the members... This band was founded by some of the founding members of Incantation, the death metal band Incantation. They left. They wanted to incorporate, corpse paint and get into some more of the black metal. And John McEntee, who is still in Incantation today, he didn't want to go in that direction. So they kind of split. There was a little bit of rivalry, it sounds like, but they have gotten along, and it sounds like they've even done some collaborations over the years. But yeah, it's I don't know, if you kind of read about them, they're black metal, but then they were black and death metal, and there's some blurring of the lines, but the band themselves have made it clear that they're not into like Norwegian black metal. They think American black metal is very different, and they were not trying to mimic what was going on there at all. They wanted their own thing. So I would say that this EP definitely leans on some death metal elements as well as black metal, but their earlier stuff that I've listened to leans a lot more into what you'd expect from traditional black metal. But yeah, really stoked about it. And Incantation's one of my top death metal bands. So the fact that there's some common roots there, I think is really awesome.
Nice.
That was released April 25th, 2025. I'm guessing that's not on your list.
That is not on my list. Although, I definitely am getting more into black metal and having the radio show and listening to an hour of black metal or programming an hour of black metal every time I need to go on to the show. And then of course I listen to it as I'm playing it. It's definitely, I'm more interested in black metal than I ever have in my whole lifetime because of, just the nuances of it and discovering, I like cleaner sounding. I don't need it to sound like it was recorded in a bathtub a mile away. I want it to be a little bit more, I like a little more shine, I guess, to it than the disgusting, dirty sounding stuff. And I know that's a personal preference. I'm not disparaging that because I know some people prefer that. They like that grit. They want it to sound like it's almost like the tape is going to break because it's not, something's not right here, and I can appreciate that mentality as well.
The more I've listened to black metal, the more I realize that it's really just, like Burzum was really big on that, having that really, primitive sound. Like Death Crush from Mayhem is pretty rough. But in my experience, even the originals, like Mayhem went on to do really good sounding recordings. Dark Throne, even though they're stripped down and it's cold sounding. It doesn't sound like they used a speaker to sing into like Burzum. You know what I'm saying? Immortal, Dissection, all these bands have like really good sounding recordings. Marduk. So I think there's just like, there's only an element of it, I think, that has that shitty sound. And it's funny that they're trying to recapture like, some of the early thrash bands like Creator that or Sodom that went on to, inspire black metal or Bathory and stuff like that. But I don't think those guys were intentionally trying to sound like that. That's just, they were recording with what they had available. So in my opinion, it's a little bit of a different vibe than somebody who says, I want to sound like the first Black Sabbath album. And then they try to recreate that, which you can't do because that was just the magic that happened of the time and with the recording equipment and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, yeah, but I know what you're saying. I tend to prefer a little bit better sounding recordings as well in black metal. Even
lyric or with the vocalist too. That's another thing that was something that I had to become accustomed to. But black metal is not on a pedestal. They're not alone as far as that. Because when I first heard Overkill, I didn't like Blitz's voice. Geddy Lee, I didn't appreciate until much later in life. So black metal or death metal, same thing. Although I still can't do the, that pig squeals and shit.
Some of it's a little over the top. A lot of it actually is over the top.
Yes. I mean, I want you to at least try. And especially if a vocalist does a good job and they have a uniqueness to them. But when you're when you're doing that, it just doesn't click for me. And the black metal for the most part, I mean, I've heard some post black metal or whatever they call it, or shoegaze black metal. And I don't mind variations in some of the vocals, but some of that stuff, it just needs that sinister, evil, screechy voice. And that took some getting used to. Let's see. I'm going to go with another easy one that, I could expect to possibly be at least in discussion for me, and that is Dream Theater's Parasomnia from February of 2025. I was an early Dream Theater fan, and then I kind of just in and out. I picked up a few albums in their later years. Not so much. I don't think I bought anything with their previous when Mike Portnoy when Portnoy was out of the band, but I still paid attention and I still would listen to songs here and there. But I was kind of like one of those background band type of things for me. And I probably should do my due diligence and go check them out again and definitely dig deeper into them. But Parasomnia definitely clicked for me getting back into the Mike Portnoy years, the Mike Portnoy Dream Theater. I don't know how much influence, maybe because he had been out of the band since 2009. And that was with Black Clouds and Silver Linings, which I do remember digging that. I don't know if I bought it or not, but I definitely did dig that album. And so I don't know if he's got as much pull since he's been out of the band for such a long time, or if maybe he doesn't need to kind of be that guy who's going to run things behind the scenes, or if it's more of a collaboration. But at any rate, this one definitely appealed to me and pulled me back into my joy of Dream Theater. I mean, I'll still go back and listen to Pull Me Under. I can listen to that song on repeat, and the whole Change of Seasons, 25, 26 minutes or whatever it was, that I can listen to that whole suite from beginning to end, like any day of the week. And sometimes I have to go listen to it. It's like I'll miss it. Actually, I even played that on the radio, and somebody checked in there like, "Are you going to play the whole suite?" And I said, "You're damn right. I'm playing the whole damn thing," which of course that final hour is an hour. And I'm going to be playing like 24 minutes of just Dream Theater.
Nice.
Because I fucking love that song. I really want to get that one on vinyl. And I even like the live covers that they have on that, because they do such a good job. One thing I do want to mention with this too is I was starting to think I didn't like James LaBrie's vocals. Like it was slipping away from me, like kind of like the same effect that I had with Ripper. I really dug Ripper early on, and then it was like the more he worked with other projects and stuff, the less I liked Ripper's voice. And James was having that same effect for me. But I don't have that problem on this album. I don't know if he's just trying to harken back to an earlier voice that he used to use, and less like trying to be Rob Halfordy or less dramatic. I don't know what it is, but I thought this is going to be what might break me for the album is if James is kind of doing what James feel. I don't know. Maybe it's just the songs I've heard, but on this one, I was like, oh no, this is the voice that I like. Either that, or I just had taken a long enough break to where it didn't bother me as much. I don't know what the formula is on that, but at any rate, Parasomnia from Dream Theater made my top 10 bucket.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the vocals. I didn't considered Dream Theater at all for this, but I did hear a newer song, or I think a song off the new album, and the music was like, I was like, oh shit, this is fucking awesome. I have to check this out. And I listened, and then the vocals started, and I was like, oh my God, this is fucking garbage. It ruined it for me. And I tried to go back and listen to it again, and no, I'm like, if they didn't have this vocalist, this would be killer fucking music. But I don't know. Maybe I could go back and try again, but I've never been deep into Dream Theater. I love the Pull Me Under song for sure. And As I Am is a really cool song. But yeah, I'm not super familiar with their catalog, but yeah, I was pretty excited when I heard this clip until those vocals came in, and I'm like, oh fuck. But yeah.
Yeah, I can understand it, man.
All right. Next up, I spoke pretty extensively about this one in our last episode. So if you want to check out that, it's up on our website, dotpod.
dotwpod.com.
Thank you. Oh shit, man. That's Gates of Dawn. They're a Minneapolis black metal, psychedelic black metal band. The album is called 3. It was released September 27th, 2025. I didn't know what to expect with these guys, but it's super unique. And so it's the backdrop of black metal, but then it's got, post 80s pop sounding stuff, and it's got, Grateful Dead vibes in it, and 70s fuzz, and it's super saturated acid sounding, just really unique. And I don't know, it grabbed my attention. It sounded weird at first because I was expecting black metal, I've heard Knockmistium described as psychedelic black metal, and it's nothing like this. This really is psychedelic. It's pretty trippy stuff, but I don't know. Every time I listen to it, I'm like, wow, there's just some really cool shit going on in here, and it makes you want to go back and hear it again. And that's a hallmark of a good fucking album, in my opinion. It's hooky too.
I was wondering if this was going to make your list.
Yeah, definitely. And if I was ranking it, if we had done this in a ranking format, this would be probably in the top 3.
Nice.
That's how unique and interesting of an album it is.
Well, let's see if this one's on your list, Nate, or maybe your best or honorable mentions. This one, I was told a while ago to check it out, and I didn't get to it soon enough, in my opinion. This is one that I am definitely buying and do appreciate. It's a band that released their 6th studio album. Their last one was in 1993, and that is Coroner with Dissonance Theory, and that was released on the 17th of October. Did you check that one out, Nate?
I did not.
Yeah, do yourself a favor. If you do you dig Coroner at all?
I've not really gotten into them, no.
Okay.
Thrash.
Check this one out, and yep.
Yeah.
Swedish or Swiss, sorry.
Swiss thrash.
Swiss thrash.
Celtic
you gotta
frost.
get that H out of there. So yeah, there you go. That was I was talking with the drummer for my band, and well, it was a group chat actually, and I was raving about the new metal church, and he's like, check out the new Coroner. And I meant to like right away, and of course kind of got busy and forgot about it. And then when I was looking at all the releases from 2025, I was like, oh yeah, I got to listen to that. And it made my let's circle back to that. And then I kept listening to it, and I'm like, okay, add to cart. And it was like, oh yeah, I'm digging this. I'm not really well versed in Coroner, mind you, but for this, I feel like with what I do have in my collection, this may be the thing this might be my best Coroner album. And again, I don't have the attachments to the early years or anything from 93 and previous. I have listened to those. I own them digitally. I'm not sure even how much of it I have digitally, but this one, going back and listening to it over and over, and just the strength from that first listen going on to where I'm like, I have to own this. I need this in my collection. It was within 2 or 3 listens that it became that. And yeah. Now, one thing I do want to mention too, because a lot of these are albums that I didn't have a whole lot of time with. I was kind of disappointed in the selections from last year. I realized I tried looking in rock. I'm not into hip hop, and reggae is kind of like if I'm on a cruise or if I'm down south or something, then I don't mind it. It's kind of in the background for me, and I enjoy it in that capacity. Or maybe on occasion on the home stereo system, especially because Angel does like it on occasion. she owns the best of Bob Marley, but she hasn't played that, and I forget. She probably got it at Starbucks or whatever.
Yep, I can picture the cover.
Yeah. So for me, it felt like I was like, wow, I thought there'd be more to choose from. And it did get hard. I mean, I was able to slough off a lot of albums, and I did dig back into the independents that I really enjoyed. And none of those were like, that I felt like in my top 10 worthy, at least nothing that I came across when I was trying to revisit. And I used to do better about tracking bands, those independent bands that I wanted to revisit as far as like a top 10 or whatever end of year discussion. But it just became such an unbearable thing that I stopped doing that as much as I should have, or as much as I'd like to, because of how crazy my schedule was. But digging into like more of the main releases, and I did revisit some of the independents, I was surprised. It was easy for me to narrow it down to about 40 or 20. I forget, 20 to 40. And then when I wanted to get it down to under 20, then it started to get a little bit tougher. 15 was easy, I'd say. And then getting it down to the 10 became a little more, I'd say 12. When I got to that 12 mark, it's like, oh, now I really got to figure out what I want. So some of these were, a lot of them, again, I think for me, the ones I've mentioned so far, Deftones was the one I had the most time with. Oh, there is another one that I'll be mentioning here shortly. But yeah, Deftones and then Testament, I think I had the most time with. And a lot of these are more like just hit me upside the head with like, holy shit, I gotta buy this. And that's one of them.
Almost all of mine in my top 10, except for the Pro Fanatica, are all ones that I've been listening to pretty steady.
Okay, nice.
I went to Wikipedia. You can go in there and you can type in heavy music in 2025, and it has it broken out by month, what albums were released. So I scanned through that to find some stuff, but most of the stuff that's in my top 10 is stuff that I bought as it came out, and I've been listening to it. I'm on to the hip hop section now of my list. So I know you won't be having any of these on yours, but there's some really killer hip hop, and it's all like old school people. So the first one I want to mention is Nas and DJ Premier. It was a collaboration they did called Light Years. This was released on December 12th, so it's fairly new. And Nas is one of the OGs. He's from Queensbridge. He put out Illmatic, which is one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time. It's super gritty New York rap. As I said, it comes from he comes from Queensbridge housing projects, along with Mobb Deep, and a number of other hip-hop people came out of there. And actually, there's a really rich music history in those housing projects, going back into like jazz and all that stuff too. So, poverty breeds art. It just does. And some of the best, in my opinion. This is a good example. And DJ Premier, he's a well-known producer, especially from, he was one of the two members of Gangstar, along with Guru, who has passed away, rest in peace. It has a very old school vibe to it. I've heard mixed reviews. Some people hate on it, having this old school vibe, but lyrically, it's really good. It's really strong lyrically. There's record scratching, which I love from the old days that a lot of hip hop people don't do anymore. It's only a select few that have that incorporated, and I fucking love that sound. I being into breakdancing and all that shit back in the 80s, and so that just harkens back to those days. And they do a song called "It's Time," and they sample Steve Miller Band, and it's so fucking cool how they use the sample. It's definitely the standout song on there, and they sample the Beastie Boys quite a bit actually on this album, which I thought was interesting too. So a little nod to the Beastie Boys. But if you're a fan of hip hop and you haven't heard this yet, it's fairly new release. It grabbed me immediately. And I'm not a huge Nas fan. I love Illmatic. He's got a ton of albums in between there that I do not care for, but he fucking hit it really, really good on this one, especially with DJ Premier. So it's called Light Years.
If Houdini would have came out with an album last year, maybe some hip hop would have made my list.
I remember Houdini. That's even before gangster rap, man.
Oh yeah. That's old school, man.
Yeah.
All right, back to me. All right, well, here's one that I did have a more time with, so I'm going to bring this one up on my next one. And Nate, I don't think you have much experience with this band, and I know I probably mention this release, but I know you and I talk a lot about stuff. So unless I send you like a song on, you gotta check this one out, like I did with the new Metal Church, and maybe it's kind of one of those in passing moments. So this might be one of those in passing bands, but that is Onslaught with Origins of Aggression.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about Onslaught at various times. I'm only vaguely familiar. I know I had a cassette of theirs way back in the day.
Oh, nice.
But not super familiar.
Well, this is an interesting double album release. It was released 23rd of May. The reason I'm more familiar with it is because their PR people sent it in to us. So I definitely got into it, played some of it on the independent music specials as bonus tracks, of course, because it is a major or a bigger band. And I've also played some of the tracks on the radio on KFAI. And I know I've turned other people onto it as a result. One guy immediately jumped on and like said, yep, I just bought it. I need to have this. But it's a re-recording of some of their early works. So it's part re-record. And then the second half is, and they do some bang up covers on this album as well. And a good variety of covers as well. So as far as the re-records, they're doing stuff off of Power from Hell from 85, some of the demos from 83, 84, and songs from The Force from 1986. Actually, in 2 tracks off of In Search of Sanity. I tried saying that too fast. In Search of Sanity from 1989. So they kind of cherry-picked a bunch of, probably what they figure were their more well-known songs or stuff, from, like I said, there's one of the tracks was from the demos. Oh, it's only at minute 27, so you'll hate that one, Nate. Not nearly long enough for you.
It's like a grindcore song.
Yeah, no shit. And then the covers they do, Iron Fist, Motorhead, Dead Kennedys, Holiday in Cambodia, Discharge with A Look at Tomorrow, The Exploited, UK 82, Judas Priest, Free Will Burning. I didn't do justice on that, but you got to check out their version. Killing Joke with War Dance, GBH with Gimme Fire, Discharge with State Violence, State Control, Holidays in the Sun from Sex Pistols, Emotional Blackmail from UK Subs, War Pigs from Black Sabbath, and then Drunk with Power from Discharge. So a very good variety of covers, and they, like I said, they did a really good job with them.
Heavy on the punk covers. I'm interested. I'll have to check those out.
Yeah. Definitely check out Onslaught's Origins of Aggression. Yeah, I kind of wanted to include it because it is re-records and covers, but it's still a really cool album, and I really enjoyed it, and I revisit it. So it was hard to knock it out of my top 10, and nothing else was strong enough to unseat it from that bucket of my top 10. So there you go.
I had a couple reissues I considered for mine that weren't new, that were just reissued by like a new record label or things like that. But yeah, it counts as a release, in my opinion. It's new. All right, next up, I got Wu-Tang with Mathematics, and that is Black Samson, the Bastard Swordsman. This was released on Record Store Day, April 12th, 2025. It's funny, I didn't know that there was going to be this special release where it was going to be, they did 5,000 for Record Store Day, and every album cover was unique. There's no 2 album covers that were the same. And I think the last time I went and waited in line on a Record Store Day before like the store opened was when you and I went, either to the Fetus or down in the Valley. I can't remember which one the last one was that we did together, but I usually just go later in the day, and if I find something cool, great. If not, no worries. I got a copy of this.
I think it was a Garda.
What's that?
I think it was a Garda.
Oh, that was the last one we did on Record Store Day?
I think so. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not waiting in line anymore. It's not as cold here as it is in Minnesota, but
yeah, that one time we were at Mill City, that was so fucking cold and miserable that I was like, God, maybe you should just get out of here and go home. But no, we stuck it out.
Yeah. Now you don't even know
I
if
don't
you're
remember
going to
what I bought
get
at that
what you're
time.
waiting in line for,
Yeah, exactly.
I think that, just on a side note, I think Record Store Day has become pretty lame over the last few years. There's been a few things, but when we were first going, I remember having more on my list than I could afford to buy, and now I'm like looking at the list wondering if there's even anything worth it.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. That's why I didn't go out for that Van Halen that I mentioned I bought when I was in California. I just happened to walk into the store and it's like, oh, there it is. That's that live Van Halen. That was Record Store Day. And I definitely wasn't going to go get in line out in the cold for it, but it's like, oh, there it is. There's leftover copies available. I'll pick it up there. And one of the problems too with Record Store Day is all the people that are selling are buying to sell.
Yeah, a lot
and
of them.
they're going to go and grab whatever. If they can get 2 copies of each, they're going to do that, and then they're going to jump on eBay quick and try to flip them for double the price and stuff. And it just really kind of hampered my excitement for doing that. Yeah, I'm not really into Record Store Day as much as I used to be. Although there'll be a few releases. I remember when they released Napoleon Black on vinyl, and that was a Record Store Day release. So I was like, oh my God, I have to have that. But I ended up finding somebody online that was there. They did their Record Store Day. They sold what they could, and then they opened up sales to their online stuff. And somebody in one of those Facebook vinyl groups said, hey, if you guys need it. I was like, fucking right, I need it. And I got my hands on it.
Well, this Wu-Tang, there was actually 2 copies, and I wish I would have bought one. I just looked as I was preparing notes what how much these are selling for, and they're going from anywhere from $90 to $190. So,
jeez.
But I'm not like that. I'm not buying to resell like you just said. I buy because I'm a fan. But I'll mention actually with the Nas DJ Premier, they had a vinyl release. It's called First Day, and it looks like test pressing. And it's got they had different colored stickers on them, and now they're coming out with the actual vinyl release. So I may keep my light years not opened. Because those were just a limited time release, and now the actual official vinyl's being released, so I might hold on to it. But back to Wu-Tang, I did open this one and listen to it. It's fucking awesome. Mathematics produced The Saga Continues. I think that was in 2015, and that was the catalyst for me getting back into hip hop. That album really grabbed me, and I remember even coming to one of our recordings and talking about it. I was really excited about it. Maybe it was 2017, but this is the next one that Mathematics produced. There's some really good songs on it. It's not as strong as some of the earlier Wu-Tang stuff, but it's cool, and it definitely made my top 10. And the cover idea was really cool. The fact that there's only one of each of those 5,000, and then they went out after that. They did put out a version of this that's just got a standard album cover.
Yeah, I guess if it's going to be a Record Store Day release that's kind of unique, that makes it a little bit interesting. But I also appreciate when bands will still put out an album. So it's like, well, 500 copies, and if your record store doesn't get it, you're fucked. you know, and otherwise you're going to spend 2 to 6 times more, depending on the release and depending on the demand for it on the secondary market. Yeah, that's tough, that whole Record Store Day thing. But yeah, makes it a little more interesting if it's going to be something that's a little more unique. But then again, you're kind of appealing to the FOMO in me, I guess. Maybe depending on the collectors. I try not to be a collector like I got to have first printings and all that shit. It's like, I'm just glad to have a copy of it.
Yep. Same.
Well, Nate, this next one, I would be supremely shocked if it was on your list, even maybe more so than the Deftones, because I'm shocked it's on my top 10. And I feel bad that I didn't give this album, because you and I talked about this album. It was a news piece, and we even made fun of the album art, and it is garbage album art. And I did play the song that we were talking about that was a single release. We did play it. Or I'm sorry, I did play it on the radio show. I went back and listened to this album, and I feel bad for kind of poo-pooing it right out of the gate. I'm not a fan of this band. I don't mind some of their songs. I'm a fan of their guitar player, which is George Lynch, but Lynch Mob has never really been much on my radar. And this is their final album, and Dancing with the Devil is a really good album to go out with. If you are not a Lynch Mob fan, but you like that style of music, definitely check it out. So Nate, I'm not looking at you.
Yeah, I won't be checking it out.
But this came out November 28th, so it hasn't been out for very long, right after Thanksgiving and then going into the Christmas holiday. But I did go back and listen to it, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. I dig this. And I'm like, okay, that's the first time. It was the opposite of what I did with the Deftones, where I didn't go into it with any expectations, where I over-expected on the Deftones. This one, I even had to go back and listen to multiple times, and it's one of those that I am going to buy because I do enjoy it that much. So if you're into this style of music and you have not given Lynch Mob a chance, definitely check out Dancing with the Devil. I do enjoy George's work quite a bit, and the vocalist he's working with is very good. It's got crappy album art, but it's definitely worth your time to check out. And it made my top 10. And again, it's another one you could knock me over the feather when I decided it's got to stay there. It's in my list, and there it is. And I'm not apologizing for it, but I'm definitely buying it. I appreciate it. I dig it. And like I said, if this is going to initially or definitely be their final album, they went out on a high note.
Speaking of final albums, this next one on my list is a final album as well, and that is Mobb Deep Infinite, was released October 10th, 2025. You know, Prodigy died in 2017, so the fact that they pulled this together, I was really surprised. I was going to buy it regardless just because I love Mobb Deep, I love Prodigy, but it just so happens that this is just a really good album. I don't know, they had a bunch of unreleased tracks from Prodigy, and they were able to pull that and put together an album, and the other person is Havoc. He's the producer, along with Alchemist, another famous hip-hop producer. It's, Prodigy's flow, I've talked about it a bunch. He's super laid back, but he's got really violent lyrics. And I just love that. He's just so calmly saying this really crazy stuff. I don't know. But there's a ton of killer songs like Taj Mahal, Score Points, My Era, all really good. But they did say this will be the last one. So I don't know if they're, maybe they just kind of pulled all the best stuff that they could that was still existing from Prodigy to make this album, but it definitely is, it's Mobb Deep all the way. So if you're a fan at all and you haven't heard this, I definitely recommend it. Any of these hip hop albums I'm talking about are really fucking phenomenal. So, I never thought I'd get another Mobb Deep album. So the fact that they put one together, I was really stoked for it. And I've listened to it a lot.
Nice. Here's another shocker for me. I mean, not because of the artist, just because I wouldn't expect that this would have garnered enough attention for me to make it into my top 10. It went from, okay, I'll check it out, to, this is interesting, I should probably buy this, to, oh crap, this is going to be in my top 10 as a result. And it's Yngwie Malmsteen Tokyo Live, which is a recording that he had made during part of his 40th anniversary world tour. And that was recorded May 11th of 2024, but the album was released in April of last year, which was April 25th. And I went and listened to it and I couldn't stop. Usually sometimes you listen to a few tracks and go, yeah, I'll keep it in my top 30 and revisit it or something like that. And I hit play and I just kept going. And hearing some of those songs that throughout his timeline, especially those earlier, because I was a bigger fan of his early work until, I don't know, maybe into early 2000s. And then I started to kind of fade away. But in a live setting, some of those songs that maybe, or some of those albums that maybe weren't as strong, can really be pulled off in a live setting that can really draw you in. And some bands are even better at that in their live versions versus maybe their studio albums. Not that I'm going to say that with Yngwie, but one of his Live in Leningrad is one of my top albums of all time. Top live albums, I'll say, of all time. And this one just is really solid. I'm not going to put it up there with Live in Leningrad because the vocals aren't there. Yngwie does sing some of the songs, and he's got a keyboard player, I think it is, or is it his bass player? I forget, that is doing the vocals that Yngwie cannot do. But still, it's great. 30 tracks. Wow. Covering, his lifespan. So you get some Alcatraz in there. And, of course, then, through the years of Yngwie, I would have preferred a dedicated vocalist like he did in, when he was more successful, I'll say, a Jeff Scott Soto or a Joe Lynn Turner or somebody else with 3 names, but he doesn't have that here. But it's still a solid album. And I'm definitely getting it. It's just a matter of, do I go, there's a 2 CD and a DVD set, which I think I'm leaning towards, versus because the vinyl doesn't have the DVD. So I'm torn between, do I get the vinyl and just eject the DVD thought, or do I go with the CDs and get it on DVD as well? Still up on the air on that one, but definitely a solid release. And Nate, you'll appreciate this or not. There's a Smoke on the Water cover that he does, and he sings it, and he doesn't do too bad. Actually, I think he doesn't do the guitar part justice, but he does a good job on the vocals, where I was like, actually, I kind of dig Yngwie singing Smoke on the Water, which I would, if you would have told me anytime in our history of podcasting that I would utter those words, I would have called you a liar. But here I am saying he doesn't do too bad. I dug it. But I was actually so kind of disappointed that he did the Yngwie thing where he's like, well, here's a song I know from front to back, and I can just kind of mail it in. I feel like he kind of did that on this. I was like, oh, you could have recorded this tighter, Yngwie, if you had a little more respect for the audience and for the song itself. I think he brought it to Tokyo as an appreciation because they're huge Deep Purple fans. So I appreciate the fact that he did it. But yeah, it's surprisingly a really good album. And I don't think I've said that about anything Yngwie's done in a while. There may be songs here and there, but of course it's a live album, so that helps.
All right, next album is Ghostface Killah with Supreme Clientele 2. It was released August 22nd. Supreme Clientele was a really big release for Ghostface like 25 years ago. I know some of the reviews were like, this is Supreme Clientele 2. Is it going to hold up? I don't really pay attention, not too much to people's reviews. So I just listened to it and I loved it. I love it, actually. I listen to it quite a bit, especially when I'm working out. It's got the old school vibe to it. Ghostface lyrics are, he's really good with the lyric play. And I made a note here that just like metal, it's these old school guys that are putting out the best albums, in my opinion. So I know hip hop has got a lot of new people and new stuff going on, but none of it hits like the old timers, and they're just still doing it. And, they're getting up there in age, and it's just still really creative lyrically, and the beats are really awesome. So yeah, it's funny. The vinyl didn't come out right away when the release happened, so I was having to listen to it digitally. And then I had it as a pre-order on Amazon, but I didn't realize I picked like a special color, like a blue album cover color or something like that. And then it was released, and it was still not giving me a date. So I looked into it, and then I finally realized that I had picked some special colorway. And so I just canceled it, and then I reordered the black vinyl and got it. I didn't really need, color vinyl's not important to me. So
yeah, same.
And especially now, because everybody's doing it. So it's not like that cool. The coolest, I've said this before, the coolest color that I've seen other than black is white. White vinyl just looks really fucking cool. And I've got a couple records like that. Yeah, that's so fucking weird, but it is. I agree. Yeah.
I don't understand why it is that way. I think it's just because, I don't know, it's maybe more unique.
Yeah.
Because everybody's doing colors and they're doing splatters, and sometimes the splatters don't look right. And now they're doing liquid filled and all this other shit, cheese filled or whatever. I don't need all that shit. Just give me a simple black vinyl. Yeah. But if it's black or white and the price is the same, I'd snap up the white. But yeah, I tend to just go with the black vinyl. Plus sometimes there's an upcharge for color, and Megadeth's got 20 different versions that you can buy for their new album that's coming out this month. Splatter, color this, color that, with Dave Mustaine's rotted underwear inside. It's like, Jesus Christ, just autographed, not autographed. Does it have Dave's autograph, or does it only have the other guys? Whatever the fuck. I don't know how many different versions they're doing. It's like, I just ordered the CD, and if it's strong enough, I'll buy it on vinyl too.
I pre-ordered the vinyl for that one.
Well, Nate, since we had a tie, since we both had Testament on there, I'm on my final one, and that is another live album. That is Diamond Head, live and electric.
That made your top 10.
That was released.
Interesting.
Yes, July. Yeah, I've been a growing Diamond Head fan ever since I saw them live, actually. There we go again. Another live performance. We saw them at Nison's down here, Nison's in Savage, down next town over. And I immediately was like, I dig the vocalist, and of course I dig the classics. Metallica helped turn me on to Diamond Head, of course. But watching them live and getting into their newer albums and digging into their old albums is like, man, I really wish I would have been into Diamond Head back in when Metallica was re-recording these. But there's still good stuff on their newer albums. So my fandom of Diamond Head has been growing ever since I saw them live, and you got to have the goods, you got to have the music to carry that forward, and they have, and it's. I really appreciate that they're still doing it, and I do appreciate the stuff that they were doing in the old days as well. And also, I should appreciate that Metallica just recorded so many of those damn kick-ass early songs that really helped Diamond Head stay out on tour and keep on going, because those royalty checks are, Brian Tatler has said, those help. Those helped us quite a bit.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. But I didn't expect it to make my top 10. I thought, oh, cool, I'm going to go listen to this. And it just stuck with me. And again, another one that I'm going to be buying. It was recorded in 2022 on their tour with Saxon. And so, and it's taken from multiple performances. So they got Aberdeen, Blackburn, York, Cambridge, Cardiff, and Bexhall. And just, yeah, seamless. It sounds great. I was a little concerned, like, oh, this one's recorded here, and is it going to sound, noticeably different? And when I was listening to it, nothing jumped out to me like that. So I appreciate that as well. So it seems a little more seamless, where Yngwie's was recorded one night supposedly in one night. May 11th is what they said. This is recorded over multiple. So they had chances to pick better sounding tracks and stuff, but it doesn't feel like it's broken up like that. And I do appreciate they're not doing that where they fade out between the songs and then the crowd noise comes back and then it fades out. I've had some albums like that where it's like, this is hard, man. And one thing I realized as I was going through this is reconnecting with vinyl when you and I did, because we were both about the same time, is the joy of live recordings and even live video and stuff. Just that whole thing has been rekindled in me. So this is one I probably should get on vinyl, because I'll probably want to sit at my record player and listen to it. Although I try to remember, this one had a DVD attached to the CDs. I don't think it did. So I think it's either CD or vinyl on this one with no DVD, which is fine. They don't need the DVD. But yeah, when I was listening to these, it was another one that I went to listen to it the first time and just ended up having to listen to the whole thing because I didn't want to stop it. So that was one, like, I have a feeling this one's going to be a strong contender for my top 15, and yeah, made it into my top 10. So that is my final one that I will add from my bucket of top 10s. So what do you got left?
Yeah, my final one is Vinnie Paz, God Sent Vengeance, which was released April 25th, 2025. This one just more recently came across into my radar, and I've been listening to it pretty steady. Vinnie was one of the founders of Jedi Mind Tricks. The album Violent by Design is one of my favorite hip-hop albums. In fact, the last time I listened to it here, a year or so ago, I was tripping on acid, and I was just like, oh my God, this is so fucking awesome. The lyrics and everything were just, I don't know. Everything when you're tripping out sounds like it was meant to be heard when you're tripping. But anyways, Vinny's, he's a Muslim, and he's got a lot of that like Eastern, kind of flavor in his beats. And it's really like gritty street sounding hip hop, but also has a lot of spiritual type lyrics. So I just think it's really cool. This was a third in a trilogy called the God Trilogy. I haven't heard the other two actually, so I'm going to go backwards and check those out. But this one's been pretty steady. Again, I've been working out most days, and so I listen to records a lot now when I'm working out. And this one's been on the turntable a lot, along with the Ghostface Killah album. But definitely, yeah, check it out. I kind of forget about these guys a little bit sometimes, and Vinny's got a lot of really good stuff outside of Jedi Mind Tricks, and this is one of those. So yeah, that's my top 10, and I own all of these on vinyl except for Pro Fanatica EP, which I'm going to be ordering this week later. But yeah, otherwise I own all of this, so I've been buying it as I go. I want to just run through my honorables.
Go for it.
I've got Witchcraft, IDAG, Doom, Doom metal, I guess, if you will. I know that they were part of the inspiration for Down getting back together. Phil was listening to these guys and kind of brought their vibe in. I'm not super familiar with the group outside of their first album, and this is kind of a throwback to that album in my opinion, so it was a consideration. Scour, their first full-length album, Gold, definitely was a contender. Their American black metal, Phil Anselmo's vocals on that. Halloween, Giants and Monsters. So this one would not have made my top 10. I put it in here. It definitely, I don't even think this would have made my top 15, honestly. The reason I made it an honorable mention is that when I did listen to it, I actually listened to the whole album. And at the end of it, I was like, it's actually not that bad of an album considering how fucking horrible a lot of Halloween stuff is after Keeper of the Seven Keys 2 and onward, in my opinion. So they did a really nice job on this one. I've got Sodom, the Arsonist. You had brought that up fairly recently. I can't remember what the discussion was around, but you had mentioned it, and it's a really good album. And then I have Destruction, Birth of Malice. There was a number of other metal albums like Sinsanum and Pagan Altar and Sun, Rune Magic. There was a number of them that I listened to that just weren't going to make it, but I did a lot of listening to a lot of different stuff, but I did want to mention those 5 outside of my top 10.
There's one that I want to mention. I wanted to put this in my top 10 so badly. The only problem was it came out in November of the previous year. Now, I didn't get turned on to it. Somebody sent it in, and that was, I want to say, in February. So it was after it had been out for a little bit. I listened to this album. This is probably one of the most listened to for me as far as consistency of 2025, even though it came out 2024. But I can't talk about it enough. If you're into like that new wave of British heavy metal, if you're into kind of that, God, it's hard to say that too, because I don't know. It seems like it's bigger than new wave of British heavy metal. There's more to it than that. And it's definitely broader than that. But the reason I mentioned new wave of British heavy metal is because this is a band that started at that time. They were known as just Salem, and eventually you got back together. I didn't realize they were still making albums. This one ends up in my mailbox and email box, and was immediately drawn to like half of it. And then the rest of the album just got its hooks in me. I bought the album. I had to buy it on CD. I had it shipped from overseas, I think. I know I paid a little bit more for it, but I'm like, I really want to support these guys. They're now known as Salem UK, and the album is on Outer Limits. So I was so heartbroken that it came out in November of last year, or the previous year, that I was like, I can't use this in good conscience. Even though for me it was a 2025 release, I was surprised. When I went back, I'm like, oh, this has been out since November. And I've played it on the show a few times as far as the independent music specials. And I've also used it on KFAI and the radio show 2 or 3 times. I've kind of lost count, but I went and listened to it again, and just as like a palate cleanser while I was listening to these 2025 albums. And I forgot just like how much I love this album. So if you're looking for something that maybe missed the radar in 24 because it was a later release, or a band that maybe, like for me, wasn't even on your radar, Salem UK's Outer Limits, just a phenomenal album. It's got a lot of heart. It's an interesting concept album, which basically they took the names of like rides from like a carnival that had been going through their town. I forget the name of the town that they were in growing up, or one of the members. And so it's an interesting concept, and that's the theme. Like you'll see it in the art in the first song and last song, but every song stands out on its own, and it doesn't carry forward. It's not like telling a story, but it's done very well, and I can't say enough good things about it. It's one of my top albums of my life. I guess at this point, it's that strong of an album to where I need to listen to this album every once in a while just to remind me how much I love it. And I am shocked by that. But that's how strong of an album is that I feel like I need to make it an honorable mention. I'm glad you brought up Halloween, because yes, that was one that was in contention for my top 15-ish, I would say, 15 to 20. Gamma Bomb is another one that was a strong one for me. Necronomicon Automation, and that's an EP. And then Soulfly, that was another one that was almost in my 10. I put it at 10.5 I'm looking at my rankings, where it's like, it's just outside there. And another one that's right next door to that another one that I felt bad having to eject. It was a little easier because it was an EP, and it's only a 3-song EP. But it was, when I first heard it, I was like, oh my God, I think this needs to be my top 10. But then when I started to compare it to everything that I wanted to keep in my top 10, I ended up going out right before Soulfly. And that is Vader with Humanility. And it's a 3-song EP. Definitely check it out if you're into that genre of death metal, that style of death metal. I think all 3 tracks are pretty decent. I did buy the download immediately because I'm like, they're selling the vinyl for like 26 or something. I'm like, it's 3 fucking songs. I'm not paying for $27 or whatever for vinyl. So I saw that Amazon had the digital download for $2. So I snapped that up immediately, and I'm definitely going to be playing that on KFAI when I go back on the 18th. But those are the honorable mentions that I wanted to bring up. There was some decent stuff, but yeah, I was a touch bit underwhelmed with the stuff that was released that was in my wheelhouse. I know there's some stronger releases that I saw a few that were coming up. Deaf Heaven was another one that I saw coming up in a few lists, but it's just a band that doesn't really click for me. But I should check them out because I do like the, what's his name? The Slipknot drummer that's no longer in the band. Max Weinberg's son, not Joey. God damn it. That's the dead drummer. Kind of a harsh way to put that, I guess. But
Jay?
Yes. Jay Weinberg. He's got an album or a single, I'm sorry, that was released with the singer from Deaf Heaven. And I played it on the radio show on KFAI in the Black Metal Hour. Because it's like black gaze. I think that's what they call it. Like shoegaze, but black gaze has got kind of that vibe. I was very impressed with it. So I did bring it to the radio show. But that was another band that kind of popped up, and it's like, just doesn't click for me. It's a band I definitely should, maybe return to and see if they'd grow on me, especially with my growing appreciation for black metal and black metal-ish bands and whatnot. Oh, and that's right. I did have the Don Jameson's top 5, and here those are, Nate. I don't know if you've heard of it or listened to any of these. The Munsons, Degradation in the Hyperreal. Familiar?
Nope.
Same. I did check all these out. None of these had any sort of risk of getting into my top 10. Well, yeah, because I think I did listen to that Cancer Inverted World back when it came out, but I definitely didn't stick in my radar for my top 15. But it definitely should be something I should maybe consider for the radio show. Nate, a fan of Cancer?
Not really. Not super familiar. I've heard of them though, definitely. It's the only one actually on. Well, I've heard of Dizzy Reed too, but yeah, that would be the only 2 that I've heard of out of these 5.
Yeah, this was the Cancer Inverted World. He says is for anyone who loves British death thrash. So Nate, maybe that'd be on your radar to check out throughout the year if you have the time. With all the other stuff we got coming out this year.
Yeah, 2026 is going to be busy for new stuff.
Yes, it is. You already mentioned Dizzy Reed. Rock and Roll Chose Me. I checked it out. Didn't like I said, it had no threat to unseat anything in my top 10. And Bear Mace, Slaves of the Wolf. And then finally the last one. This one was interesting, but not enough to where I consider it. But I definitely thought I should revisit this band, which is Bask, Bask, and the name of the album is The Turning. So there you go. A little top 5 from another podcaster, Don Jameson. Ooh, Nate, one thing we never talked about is our final song. We can't finish the show without a song.
I think we should each pick a song, and I've got one for mine.
Ooh, you're going to just throw me a curveball. What is yours?
I'm going to do Nas DJ Premier's song, It's Time.
And I know we've played Testament, so I'm not going to go there. I don't think I want to go with anything live either. Tell you what, I am going to pull off of Avatarium. I'm going to pull between you, God, the devil, and the dead. I am going to pull, I'm blanking on the name of the song. So it's the first one on the album. Where the bleep is it? Long Black Waves. So that'll be my selection after we play your selection. We'll go with that in that order.
Sounds good.
Fabulous. So a twofer for you guys, a little bit of hip hop and a little bit of doom metal to wrap up your 2025. Nate, always a pleasure. I am looking forward to 2026's releases. We're going to have a lot to talk about in a year from now, and it might be a tough one. Maybe we'll have to expand to 15.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to, hopefully.
Well, I like the tightness of the 10 because it's like you gotta weave out and pick like these are the top 10. For some reason, 10 feels like a strong number.
No
for
filler.
me. Maybe it's the 1 and the 0.
Cutting off all the fat.
Yes, exactly. And you're nailing it down to those special albums that require being in your top 10. We'll see what happens. Maybe 2026 will just force us to do 15 because there's no way we can narrow it down to 10. We'll see what happens. That's a discussion for December of next year. But for now, we can wrap up this episode with a twofer for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for the support. And until next time, my friends.
Happy fucking New Year and stay heavy.
Hey, yo, Black, it's time. Hey, yo, Black, it's time. Yeah. Time traveling. Hey, yo, Black, it's time. Yeah. Hey, yo, time flows through me. How many rhyme flows and lines can I recite with my eyes closed? Yo, let's shoot this movie smoothly. Listen to me. Let's take it to the past long before the new me. I seen it when it first got tricky. Dipping through the city, whipping new cars to the herb spots for the sticky. I was the one by the tree in the GS3 with Biggie. Next thing you know, where the time go is gone quickly. Spin down the street back where I used to be. Stomping grounds, just touchdown to QB. It's known for violence and money. Saw a brother fresh, homie, just walked down 20. I stepped out, I stretched out, I took a breath in, let a breath out. I don't flex, don't want clout, but what I do want to see is my brothers are winning. And all my people out there, cherish the time you give it.
I think you know what time it is. The illest shit that ever happened. I think you know what time it is. I think you know what time it is.
Time traveling.
The illest shit that ever happened.
I use every second as a weapon. Every minute keeps on slipping. Time is a construct of your limits. The Big Bang to now. Evolution to how little time mankind has really been around a grown over 50 perspective. Is there an age limit to disc records or may it just be a message? Kids are doing drive-bys. I'm looking like time flies. Squeezing hammers even when there's cameras up in the sky. Spark the lie with the double R I drive. Pretty thugs show no love. It's like when doves cry. Maybe I'm just too much of a smuggler minded hustler. Timeless couple hundred cover the knuckles with diamonds. Smell it on us from the blocks they was telling on us. Wore a vest in the summer sweating, they try getting on us. Prayers, cause gangsters go to heaven and life's weighing on us. Premier, play the chorus, yeah.
I think you know what time it is. The illest shit that ever happened. I think you know what time it is.
Time, man.
Time traveling. Hey, yo, Black, it's time.
Thank you for listening to Disciples of the Watch. This episode was produced by Gene Vogel and Nathan Matnich. All music is property of the artist or the publisher. Please buy music and support the art we all love. Editing on this episode was done by Gene Vogel. Check out our website, dotwpod.com, for show notes, links, and more information on the show, as well as connections to social media. Don't forget to subscribe to the show using your preferred podcast application, or use our FeedBurner RSS feed listed on our website. Plug it into your browser or whatever app you're using, and then you will get all of the goodness moving forward. And you can also download the show as MP3 files from dotwpod.com. If you'd like to support the show, please click on the support us link at our website. As well, we have Patreon, so you can do a monthly contribution if you so desire, or purchase some of our merch from our website. Thank you for listening, friends, and stay heavy.